In the physical world, a vault serves a singular, pragmatic purpose: preservation. It's an impenetrable architectural safeguard engineered to lock the valuable, or the dangerous, away from the outside. In the realm of horror fiction, that same architecture functions as a flashing red button. It is a barrier that exists primarily to be breached. The vault operates as a foundational framing device, engineered specifically to exploit our morbid curiosity and the persistent human urge to mess with the forbidden. Roy Ward Baker's 1973 British anthology film, The Vault of Horror, provides a textbook study of what happens when we cross this architectural threshold. The film begins in a deceptively mundane setting. 5 strangers step into a descending lift in a modern London office block. Without anyone pressing a button, the lift carries them to an uncharted sub-basement, depositing them in a windowless gentleman's club with no way back up. This crossing is always a voluntary violation of a warning. The vault exists to ask the audience a single question: what happens when we poke at the unknown? To navigate a psychological vault, the audience requires a guide, a personality to make the macabre palatable. This is the role of the keeper. In the late 1980s, the quintessential guide was HBO's Crypt Keeper. Operating on premium cable, this host was free to bypass network standards, using his platform to showcase extreme gore and explicit content that broadcast television wouldn't touch. British television utilized curators like Dr. Walpurgis and Dr. Terror. These figures acted as caretakers for late-night classic cinema broadcasts, grounding the horror in a sense of scheduled, event-based storytelling for BBC Two. Modern internet lore has updated this archetype into the digital archivist. In series like The Black Vault, the host sifts through paranormal audio logs, treating the internet itself as a repository for lost secrets. The keeper functions as a mirror, reflecting our own desire to observe punishment and death from a safe distance. The first level of the vault usually contains horror based on karmic justice, the idea that our sins eventually build our own prison. In The Neat Job, the 1973 film adapts an EC comic story about an obsessively neat, abusive husband. His demand for perfection eventually leads his wife to murder him, chopping his remains into pieces and sorting them into meticulously labeled jars. In The Black Vault, we find Julia, a woman who poisons her abusive father and buries him in the yard. But when their house floods, the basement architecture becomes a trap, as his waterlogged, rigid corpse floats right back through the floorboards. This pattern continues with stories of arrogant true crime podcasters unearthing the burial site of a 1950s cannibal, Oz McKee. Their search for authentic content leads them directly into his actual tunnels. In these upper layers, the vault acts as an inescapable mirror. It traps characters inside nightmares specifically customized to reflect their personal guilt. Descending further, modern horror shifts the contents of the vault from personal, beatable ghosts to unstoppable, global forces. Isaac Boza's Horror from the Vault details this escalation. It begins with a team of scientists unearthing a frosty black sarcophagus in the tomb of Alden. They unseal the Gao, a biological anomaly that functions as an ever-evolving mass of consumed flesh and biomatter. The creature's rapid adaptability turns every response into fuel for its own growth. As the red web spreads, traditional defense fails. Firebombing merely triggers airborne mutations. This projection shows humanity's final position. Survivors have retreated to subterranean bunkers in Antarctica to escape the harvest. At this depth, the vault is no longer a container for monsters. It represents an inescapable shift, the realization that some things, once unsealed, can never be returned to the box. The vault trope relies on a rigid structural rule. It is a one-way trip. This is the realization at the end of the 1973 film. The strangers aren't waiting to leave. They are damned souls in a mausoleum, forced to recount their sins to one another forever. We see a larger version of this trap in the creepypasta lore, where the survivors aren't just hiding in bunkers, they are permanently sealed away from the surface they once inhabited. Opening the vault isn't just an act of observation, it is an act of self-entrapment. This architectural trap isn't really built for the characters, it is built for the observer. Looking at these rows of vintage horror media, the pattern becomes clear. Across every era, from analog comics to premium cable, we are the ones who voluntarily seek out the door marked "Keep Out" that led those 5 strangers into the basement in 1973. The vault isn't designed to protect us from what's inside. It's designed to house our curiosity. And as long as we keep looking for the next door to open, the architecture has done its job.